Hey, Rifters, welcome to the show. Subscribe, rate, review, tell a friend. Today we got a great guest. He's very inspiring, I feel. And I feel this is one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to him. I read his book, Aiming High. It was about recovering addiction, and that was fantastic. And he's a sports agent for Hulk Hogan, Magic Johnson, Chevy Chase, Charlie Sheen. The list goes on and on. Darren Prince will be here via Zoom, and you guys are going to love him. And I can't wait for you guys to hear it. I think it's a very important. Um, a lot of people think a comedy podcast should always be funny, but I always like to argue that a comedy podcast should be interesting than funny, because I feel interest is what really changes the world. I've always felt that. And I really feel that I feel like this one is going to be more on the interesting side and maybe not so much on the funny side, because addiction is never funny, but it's very interesting. And I think that this episode is really going to change people's lives and maybe help people. And that's why I'm excited for it. All right, guys. Well, enjoy. Remember, if you like this show, subscribe, rate, review, tell a friend. We got to get those reviews up. We got to get the support. You could also book me on Cameo. That would help a lot. I'm trying really hard to bring the best content and interviews, and I like it. I enjoy it. It's fun. And I just want to touch and reach more people. So your support really does help. Those reviews really do help with the algorithms and all that jazz. And it's going to be great. All right, guys, enjoy the episode with Darren Prince on Reza Riffs. Hey, Darren.
Hey, how are you?
Doing good. How are you?
Good.
Thank you so much. It's so good to actually meet you face to face. I know we're Facebook friends, but it's actually good to actually meet you, man.
It happens a lot thanks to social media.
Yeah. Because you've been in this business for a while. Do you think social media has helped your business, or because back then it was like phones? You know what I mean? You'd pick up a phone.
Yeah, I always help you. I don't see it helping us. If anything, it just an easier way to keep in touch with people, and there's more time you can allocate to work instead of long phone calls.
Yeah.
Because I built the agency before the internet really was even around. So for the most part, I like I said, I think it allows us to communicate more efficiently with people and promote projects that we have going on business wise. For me, what I love about it is my personal message. That's why it's called my social media. Everybody gets to do what they want on their page. So the majority of my stuff is about my journey.
Well, I love your message. And before we start with that, I wanted to just tell you, you were at a basketball the other day with Jay Moore, and I texted Jay. I was like, "Oh, I'm going to interview him on Monday," and Jay said, "You're one of the most beautiful human beings in the world." And
he's
I wanted you to know that you're very loved. So I like.
Thanks, man. He's a special one. We're boys. We grew up 10 minutes from each other.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I used to tour with him.
Come on.
Yeah. He's one of my best friends.
And the craziest thing is my sponsor who saved my life was very, very close to his mom.
Oh, nice.
Who passed with decades of recovery. She was a very influential figure in Essex County, the recovery world. So when I told Steve Delaval one day that I just bumped into Jay Moore, and he's doing phenomenal, and he's like, "Do you know how close I was to Jay's mom?"
Oh my God!
So it's nice that we all kind of get to have this amazing, beautiful life.
Yeah, I feel Jeannie Buss really saved Jay's life. So I'm like, so when you love people that are your friends and they're just better. It's so much. It's like a good, warm feeling. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and she was huge when my book came out. I mean, she gave a testimony for the back cover of my book. She was so excited to promote it. I was out here doing my West Coast press junket after I did New York, so I wasn't living here yet. And I was, I saw her at a game, and she gave me a big hug with tears in her eyes, and so it touches home to a lot of people.
Yeah. I actually read your book and I loved it. Like I bought it on the Kindle and I read it, and and the thing that I like about it too was it was a easy read. You know what I mean?
Everyone says that. Yep.
So
but it's funny because I needed to read it. And as I was co-writing it with Kristen, she learned a lot about my own form of ADD and losing focus. And so I was like, we have to do this. So the bulk of the people that read it said they can't put it down. And it was a super easy read.
yeah. I mean, so like I have Asperger's syndrome, so like I could read really fast, but sometimes I have to reread stuff another time just to fully understand it, you know?
Yeah.
And with your book, I didn't have to.
First time, right?
Yeah, first time.
Yep.
So
I've heard that from a lot of people. Look, I mean, we're in that frequency then, because I still, struggle certain times with my focus and have to make lists and so you understand the ways our brains are wired, So I think it was co-written by me and her, in a way to make it easier for people like us to, and really, make it clear and to the point. And, I give her a lot of the props because she really put together the masterpiece. I was a voice.
Yeah, that's awesome though. But I mean, like I said, I read a lot of books and I thought it was amazing. And I don't have a addiction. I guess everyone has some sort of addiction issues, but I don't have addiction issues with drugs or anything. But I know so many people who do. And I think that it's a book that changes lives for the good. So I just wanted to thank you for writing it.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Definitely. So I wanted to start when you were a kid and you started collecting baseball cards, and then you started to get this, like, what made you give the idea to like start a business like that? Because obviously you loved baseball cards.
Yeah.
So like, what gave you that idea? Like, hey, I can make money by buying and trading these.
So for a couple of years, I think I was almost manifesting a position in myself to have a business. I just didn't have an outlet to sell them. So I had an intro to business teacher I'm still close with to this day, Elliot Lovey, and he challenged the entire class to go home and create a business overnight. Now, I had shoe boxes. I had little prices on the plastic sleeves. I was getting a magazine called CCP, Current Card Price Guide, which was long before Beckett, and very few people unless you're a real pioneer of the hobby or an old school collector know what CCP was. And it was a newspaper that was like the Wall Street Journal would come once a week. So I would rechange my pricing, and all the cards I accumulated were from friends that wanted to go out and party, date when they were younger. I could care less about either. And so I had 4 different jobs, part-time jobs, that would take all my money and buy their cards.
Yeah.
So when the teacher challenged us, I came home that night and told my dad, and first thing he asked me, was such a big influence in business, so who's going to buy them? And I ran back upstairs. I had a newspaper ad in the West Essex Tribune, which Jay would know of, the Essex County paper, and it had an advertisement for $20 to get an 8-foot table at something called the Baseball Card Show with collectors where you could buy, sell, and trade. And my dad and I kind of laid out a plan how we were going to do it. He had a typesetting and design company with a direct mail coupon advertising company. So his typesetters laid out these beautiful professional signs, and I split half the table with my good friend Steve Simon. We go back since I was 10. He now runs Prince Marketing Group for me back in New Jersey, my agency. And he kind of went into it almost just to have fun, investing his $10, and I went into it all in. So you can probably notice the difference of the setups of our areas on the table, because he probably just threw some cards in a box and went where I
didn't know the value. Yeah.
I had an entire game plan. So I made over $1,000 on that Sunday afternoon, and that was it. The light bulb went on, and, I felt so alive and at peace and, knowledgeable of something for the first time in my life, like the hot rookies and the cards that were trending and popular. And, what somebody's batting average was, rated rookies, prospects, all that stuff. And a lot of people are, impressed with my knowledge because I think I almost just became like Rain Man, like the numbers and their stats became
just in your head.
So important to me. And my dad would always say, you have a certain part of your brain that nobody has. And that's what we're going to, pinpoint. It's going to make you a success. And that was it.
Yeah. I think like that's so cool because, back in your day, $1,000 was a lot of money for a kid. Like that's like $1 million. Yeah, that's like $1 million for a kid back in there, So I think that's just so amazing because I'm the same way with basketball cards where I used to collect basketball cards and I didn't necessarily watch the games, but I could tell you who was scoring what just by the cards.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
that's great. I love it.
Yeah. And then we might jump back and forth a little, but I wanted to ask you about July 2nd, 2008, because I feel that was a day that really opened your eyes, and that was the day that everything came clear. And how important was that day? Like, did you wake up knowing that, okay, something's going to happen? I'm going to talk to a stranger who's going to change my life and make me get better? Or like, how did you process that?
No, it was just like any other day. I was just, at that point where I was just so sick and tired. And at that point, I had about 12 hours clean because my uncle and his then girlfriend who came in the day before, who I never met her before, realized there was something wrong. And I opened up and having no idea she was in recovery for 5 years. So that next day was just like, oh, I'm not going to make it. And this is, I'm going to have to call the doctor. I'm sick to my stomach. I don't feel good. I'm vomiting, everything that goes along with detoxing. And that night, God had another plan. So I came back from the gym about 7 p.m. I was living in New York City. I was married at the time. And I called them both up and I said, I can't do this. I'm calling the freaking doctor to get what I really need. They put me in my place, and not that I heard it, and just said, you got to put your damn ego aside, get to a 12-step meeting, tell these people you're sick, you're suffering, you need help. And I said, I've been to those stupid meetings when I was 21. They don't work. The people, they have no idea. They don't understand my life. And I hung up the phone, ran in the bathroom, and went through the medicine cabinet to find some non-narcotic anxiety pills, and out came 2 Vicodin extra strength, which was one of 3 opiates I was addicted to. And Simone and I, who's now my ex-wife, we cleaned out every medicine cabinet. So it was just very odd that 2 of them were still there. And in that moment, I just thought exactly what I needed. I thought that was the spiritual awakening, that I found 2 more opiates when I needed it. But I had a white light moment, and I've never had it before, and I never had one since, where I fell on my knees. I screamed out to God, take the money, the business, and notoriety. If you give me a single day of freedom, I will spend the rest of my life taking others out of hell with me. And I've kept my word now for 15 and a half years. What I thought was my best was my worst day turned out to be my best, because that within the hour that night, I wound up in a 12-step meeting in a church basement in the upper 80s. And the one thing I got more than anything after I put my hands up and told, almost 200 addicts and alcoholics that were once of a hopeless, broken state of mind, was so many of them coming over to me after and saying that they would love me before I ever knew how to love myself. Right. And that kind of put things into perspective for me to understand, you don't really, in time, you're not really getting addicted to the chemicals or the alcohol. You're getting addicted to the escape.
Yeah.
Because the hole in our souls, the lack of self-worth, the lack of self-love, the lack of accountability. So when you start doing the road work on that with the 12 steps, a psychic change takes place. And then if you want to keep that gift from that change that you're developing into, that new human, you better give it away to other people.
Yeah. I just think that is just so beautiful and amazing that you had that moment, because I think that, if you didn't have that moment, we wouldn't be talking today, know, and I mean that out of love, because I really do love you. Yep. But, so it's such a blessing that, people get those moments when they need them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And then So I wanted to talk to you about the FBI scare because I thought that that was very interesting in your book, and you were a young guy, and obviously during this time you were still having a problem. So like, did it freak you out? Like how because at first you didn't know you did anything wrong. You thought you were helping them, right?
Yep.
So like, how did that come? Where like, holy shit, you know what I mean?
Well, I was in the top of the industry, booking autograph signings for the biggest names in sports and entertainment at that time. So I really thought they wanted me for my expertise.
Yeah.
And the guy I was buying from became a dear friend over 2 years. Said they were trying to get him on tax evasion, so don't give him anything on me. And I'm just like, all right. But then when they asked me if I had an attorney, my lawyer called the FBI in Chicago and thought that was a little odd and said, I think you should bring me with you just to find out what's going on. And, we met them for about an hour. They recorded everything. I'm just thinking, hey, they see I deal with Ali and Frazier and Chevy and Magic and Larry Bird. I was writing a column in Tough Stuff magazine, which was one of the biggest collectible magazines on the national newsstand. And the one question they asked me was there ever any inquiries for a refund from any of your customers? And I was like, nobody asked for a refund. Why would they? Like, it's authenticated by a forensic document expert, one of your own, an FBI agent based out of Chicago. So we took a break, came back a couple hours later, and they had my phone lines tapped at my office in Union for a few months. And one of my sales reps was arguing with an attorney out of Hawaii that was trying to return a signed basketball a year later, that he was unsure that it was legit. Like, we offered lifetime guarantees and refunds, but I don't know if he actually purchased it from us or somebody else, and they couldn't get me on mail fraud. They saw 99.99% of the business I was doing in my life was legitimate, and they wound up charging with making a false statement to an FBI agent during an investigation, which was a felony at the time. During the process between then and sentencing, I went on a tear with refunding as many people's monies who wanted it, sending out letters, which my dad told me to do. So that buried me financially. Not everybody took them because the items looked so good. They just loved them, whether it's a photo or a basketball in a case or a jersey. They just choose to keep them because it was a great conversation piece. But yeah, it was a turning point in my career too, because first time in my young adult life, I had financial problems. But, I was able to use that time too after, talking to my dad on a fly fishing trip in Alaska about wanting to become an agent and thinking I needed 8 years to go to law school. And Dad told me, life is about who you know, not what you know. Look at all the celebrities you're dialed in with. Why don't you talk to Magic? And they all supported you during this investigation. I'm sure he especially would be there for you if you tell him your vision. And a few weeks later, we're in Michigan and had the conversation. And he told me if I use him to knock down every door, that he would hire me as his agent, because life isn't about how successful he becomes. It's about how successful he makes me and everybody else around him. That it's a domino effect, because then I can give it away to other people. That he was going to be a success in the world of retired athletes and celebrities that nobody's ever seen before. And that was 30 years ago. And look at him now. And my whole life, not just in recovery, but business, financially, opportunities get created. I've had that model for 30 years now, because he allowed me to more or less exploit him and use him to bring in all the other celebrities and, build the foundation for Prince Marketing Group.
Yeah, that's awesome, because it sounds like you and your dad had a very great relationship where it was past father and son too. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yep.
So, yeah, because I mean, I've had a couple relationships with that. Like, I was closer with my grandfather than when I was with my dad. And then when he passed, it really destroyed me. And then my comedy dad, Norm Macdonald, who I toured with for 9 years, I had that relationship. And then when he passed, it just destroyed me. But now I'm closer with my dad. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
So it's like I think that that's beautiful because I feel a lot of children, they don't get that relationship. You know what I mean? So it's cool that
I
you have that.
realized it. I realized it after he passed, and I realized it almost every week. Something comes up. Understanding that not everybody has that with their mother or their father, but my dad and I have was really, really special to the day that he passed, and as proud as he was about my entrepreneurial success and what I did building Prince Marketing Group, nothing touched him more than we had 8.5 years sober together on this planet. He had his son back for 8.5 years and
Yeah.
got to see me, you know, make this the most important thing in my life, and saw the people I was helping along the way and raising money for Turning Point Treatment Center in New Jersey at the time every year for their gala, and bringing in some of my celebrities to host it and raise money. And yeah, it's just a beautiful thing to see, because I know a lot of people in recovery don't have that opportunity. They
Yeah.
get their life in order after a parent is gone, and my dad got to see it firsthand.
Yeah, I think that's just so awesome. I wanted to ask you because it seems like Magic Johnson is the guy who's been with you from the beginning, and he's never left your side. Regardless through the issues you were having, like he was still there. So that itself is also like a father-son relationship, best friend
Yep.
type of relationship. So you're very lucky to have both of those. You know.
Yep. Yeah,
So
he's been amazing, like a big brother type of father son. Yeah, I mean, most of our conversations now too on the phone are about life, but I have that with most of them now. I mean, Hulk Hogan, same, Ric Flair, Charlie Sheen, Chevy Chase, Dominique Wilkins, Carmen Electra, Denise Richards. I think every one of them, Jerry West especially. I think conversations just about life. The business part is so little at this point, because it's easy to make them money, but they're genuine friends, they're genuine family members. They are so proud to support, my journey and do whatever they can to assist there, because they know it's my passion. And I think that life is about finding your purpose, and then when you find it, to give it away to other people that need it.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned Jerry West because have you ever had a dream that was like you knew it was a dream, but it was so real that you thought maybe it
Of
was real?
course.
You know what I mean? So I had one of these dreams that I was at a Laker game and I ran into Jerry West, and the only thing I said to him is, "Why did you trade Eddie Jones?"
That's
So I'm just like, what does that have
funny.
to?
That's
So
funny.
I don't know,
That's funny.
I don't know. I don't know why I wanted to share that with you because it literally happened a couple of days ago, and
That's amazing.
I think
I
it was
love it.
because yeah, on March 10th, 1999, he traded Jones and
Yeah.
Eldon Campbell, and that was the
Yeah.
day I was diagnosed with autism. So I remember I was crying, and my parents were like, "Keith, don't worry about it. You know everything. You know this is something that a lot of people have, and
Yeah.
and I was like, no, the Lakers just traded Eddie Jones, and we had tickets to go see him play next week.
Yeah.
You
And
know
now
what I
you're
mean?
not going to say them. Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's
that
funny.
was like the worst day of my life.
Of course. I understand it. I'm a big sports fan.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you too, like, do you think like people who are prescribed with pills, because there is people who are prescribed with it that they don't abuse it and they don't become addicted, but then they think, okay, I'm prescribed. Maybe I could go over the edge a little. You know what I mean? Do you think like that's a little dangerous too with prescription?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's sort of what happened to me. I mean, I just manipulated the system. Like, I knew every doctor was going to give me anything I needed, because they looked at my life and the success that I had and the clients that I had, and I had legitimate sciatica, but I just overplayed it to the hill for over 20 years, getting whatever I needed.
Yeah. So, wow, man. And then nowadays, like the internet, it's probably a lot easier because you don't know who a real
Crazy.
doctor is. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
So,
100%. It's so bad right now, and fentanyl and these other things that are out there that wasn't when I was using, thank God, because I'm sure I wouldn't be here. It's scary. Scary, but I think most of it comes down to the youth understanding that if you feel different, if you feel like you don't fit in, if you are uncomfortable in your own skin, and it have to be somebody that has, has a few drinks or smokes a joint or takes some pills just to fit in, and you're in those teenage years, ask for help. That's not normal. That is not a normal behavioral pattern. That was me. That was me. Most kids that love themselves, even at that age, okay, they might have a beer once in a while just to try it out of an experimental stage, but nobody's going over the top week in and week out, which is what I was doing, unless you're truly unhappy with it.
Do you remember your first convention that you did where you were speaking to help people? And do you remember the first person who came up to you? Because I feel like everyone remembers the first person that shares something with you.
Yeah, I talked about this on Jay Shetty, who's a dear friend of mine, when I was on his podcast. I was in 2015, and my parents came to this. I was on at a New Jersey Mental Health Association gala in Union, New Jersey. And I knew that I was meeting this young man beforehand. He was in treatment multiple times, treatment centers, young kid, 21, because his father, I guess, called over to the event manager after they saw the ads and said that his son would like to come, told this woman about the son's story, that he's obviously been struggling for quite some time since he was 15 and been in and out of treatment centers. And I knew then that me being there that night was about meeting this young man. And we hit it off. We exchanged numbers. I had to fly to London that night for business. And we kept in touch when I was in England all week. And he was in and out of the rooms, just couldn't get it. And I think about 6 months in, I was out in West Hollywood at a hotel, and I sent him a text, "How you doing?" He's like, "Not good, D. I'm embarrassed. I feel like I'm wasting your time. And I wish I could be you. I'm just not." And I sent him a text saying, "I don't care if you go bad 99 more times. Get to me on the 100th, because I don't want to miss the magic when I see it in your eyes." And from that conversation, he hasn't picked up a drink or a drug. And I was able to fly back to New Jersey to give him his 1-year sober coin in front of his mother, father, grandparents, girlfriend, sister. It's the greatest thing in the world.
That's awesome.
That happened at my first speech. That's how I met him.
Oh, that's cool.
And I was a terrible speaker. Now I'm trained. So now I can do it in my sleep. I've worked with some of the best speech coaches, but I'm sure if I watched my speech that I'd, be so embarrassed. But look, it penetrated, it resonated, it did what it was meant to do at that time.
Yeah. Well, sometimes about speeches and I feel it's the same form because I do stand up, but it doesn't necessarily mean about how good it is or whatever. It's about getting the message.
It's the message. Yep.
Yeah. So, whoa, there's a big thumbs up on your. I was like,
yeah.
I was like, did I hit that? I was like, whoa, there's a ghost on the Zoom. So I have 3 more questions for you, and these are just like random thoughts. Who's a celebrity or a sports person you wish you could represent that you've never represented?
I don't know if I have one, man. I think I've got the best of the best that are aligned to just who I am and just great people. I mean, I've met almost every celebrity, president. I don't really know if I have one, to be honest with you. No, I don't think there's like a wish list.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm complete. I'm complete in that area.
For a second, I had a dream you were going to say Eddie Jones.
No. It's a great player, but we're very blessed that for the most part we're able to target cultural icons that are known outside of like a major market like Los Angeles.
Yeah, awesome. And then the second question I had is, if you could go into a time machine and talk to a younger version of Darren Prince, knowing what you know now, and it could be from tomorrow or whenever you were a kid, what would you tell yourself?
I'd say that life is going to work out fine, and be a little bit more forward with the way that you're feeling about yourself. Stop hiding it. And, you have a lot of gifts that you're going to be giving to the world. And if you start being a little bit more vocal now, you'll be ahead of the curve.
Wow. Awesome. I'm so glad you said that and you didn't say, Darren, if Keith Reza asks you to do his podcast, say no.
We wouldn't even know what a podcast was, the younger version of myself.
That's true. You'd be like, what's a podcast?
What's a podcast?
Oh, man. And then I wanted to ask you, like, how, if someone is like young and coming to become like an agent or a marketing guy like you, like what's advice you would give for them? Like, because I don't know how you get in that business. You know what
I mean, you got to start at an agency. You got to start at the bottom somehow and just work your way up. And I tell people all the time, in all aspects of business, it's not just being an agent. Focus on the personal relationship way more than you focus on the money. Too many people focus on the money. If you learn about that client, you learn about that person, their likes, their dislikes, their birthdays, their family history. That's everything. Because when you get that, now you're making it so personal that the business part is so much easier. If you're in a sales job, if you're trying to become an agent, whatever it might be, just put the money part and the monetizing, whatever it is, second, and work on building that trust on a personal level.
Yeah, that's actually great advice because I feel, I mean, obviously money is important. It makes the world go around and around. But I feel people are under the illusion that money is the most important thing, where maybe it's the second or third most, but it's not the most. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And my boy Dave Meltzer says it best: have a lot of fun, help a lot of people, and make a lot of money. And I think it's probably in those orders. Maybe help a lot of people coming first to then have a lot of fun, then make a lot of money.
Yeah. And then I wanted to ask you, what's your home away from home? Like, what's a town that you actually like whenever you get booked to go somewhere, you're like, I can't wait to go to that town?
It's definitely Clearwater Beach or Tampa. So I've got Hulk there. I've got Rick there. I bought my boy Vo, who's one of my agents for 12 years. He's a Jersey boy. I've got Kevin Harrington down there, Shark Tank judge. He's a business partner, corporate clients. My boy Vic Tipton. I have so many people within that little area. My boy John Conklin at the Hard Rock. He's a big VIP executive there. So everything is like so fulfilled in that area. I feel like I'm at home. And they also have the Serenity Club for anybody in the fellowship that's listening. 631 Turner Street. It's one of the best clubhouses in America. It's been there for about 55 years. So I'm able to go down there, do my work in the morning, hit a 12-step meeting to stay on that spiritual beam and that place of gratitude. And it's just this nice little, beautiful, area that I feel very serene and very at peace every time I go there. And probably why I'm there 8 to 10 times a year.
This is probably going to be a stupid question, so I apologize. But have you ever watched Shark Tank and you're just watching it as like a fan of the show or nothing's on TV and they pitch something, right? Which is the most random thing in the world. But to yourself, you're thinking, I want that.
Oh, of course. Yeah, of course. 100%. Because I have that marketing brain and I could see things sometimes. But then other times you want to shake the contestant that walks away because they thought they were giving up too much. And meanwhile, their evaluation was way too high. So you're looking and you're thinking, how could you not want Mr. Wonderful or Mark or Lori, or Barbara or Damon understanding your evaluation then goes through the roof, attaching them to your company versus the other way around. So now you're going to get nothing.
Like I saw this one where it was like a dog collar, but it was a voice. So when it barks, it like translates what the dog is trying to say or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I was just thinking, I want that, not because I have a dog, but my neighbor has a dog.
Yeah. That would be amazing. That's a good bit for your comedy. Yeah, it's pretty funny.
And then I have two more. I actually have three more questions, but I want the last one I can't ask on the clock. So if you could stay for 1 second, so I could ask.
Okay.
But the one of the questions is what is your favorite movie?
Favorite movie? I mean, I love Jerry Maguire. You know, in my mid-20s when he came out, Jay Moore, because it's obviously my life. But probably comedies. I would say every time, like We Are the Millers were on last night, I watch it. Wedding Crashers.
Wedding Crashers is great. Yeah.
Step Brothers was
I was just watching that yesterday.
Yeah. I mean, there's just so many. And obviously Chevy Chase being my guy for 30 years, you know, you can't pass any time the original Vacation or European Vacation is on.
Yeah.
You know, I just, and Fletch obviously was a masterpiece. That was his greatest body of work.
Yeah. Norm and I wrote Dirty Work 2, which would never see the light of day now because everyone's dead. But Chevy was in the first Dirty Work, and we wrote a scene for his character. And because his character in the original was like he had a big gambling thing, so he needed all this money because the character basically was about Artie Lang's sister who had breast cancer, and Dr. Farling comes in and he's like, I'm retired, but I could still use $100,000.
Yeah.
So like we wrote for a cameo because Norm was like, I don't think Chevy's going to do it because he didn't like doing the first one.
Yeah.
But that was just a little trivia for you. And then speaking of Chevy, I wanted to ask you because he did a Raising Cane's commercial, and I know that you got him that. So I wanted to ask, do you get free Raising Cane's now for life, or like what's the deal on that?
I'm sure if I asked Todd, you know, the founder, he would get Todd Braze, he'd give it to me. But their chicken's really good, man. I mean, their food, I try to, you know, just be careful with my diet. But man, it was, they made a nice little spread for us when we did the Christmas lighting event in Chicago. Not this Christmas, the Christmas before. But I think we're going to work on another campaign with them this year too. So I could ask about the lifetime of free chicken.
Definitely. And also say, can you also give me a front of the line card?
Yep. Exactly. That's perfect.
That's like
gold.
Yeah. Raising Cane's is like the in and out of chicken where you just.
Exactly. But you're waiting there for a half hour just to get your hands on the food.
Yeah. In and out should be called sit and wait.
Yeah. I know. In and out's not for me. I don't know what it is.
I've been
living out here 6 years. It doesn't do it. I would take Jack in the Box or Wendy's any day of the week.
Yeah. I mean, In-N-Out's okay, but it's not as great as people think.
No, and then obviously being a Jersey boy, what's better than Rat Burgers and White Castle? That's what we used to call them. The sliders.
Oh, White Castle is the best. And I think that the movie made them more popular.
I actually watched the Montego Bay one last night. It was on.
Yeah.
And Beverly D'Angelo, we worked with her too. And I completely forgot she had a cameo where she shot Neil Patrick Harris in the back as he was running to the boys, and he left the brothel.
Nice.
They were incredible. That movie's so underrated. All three of them. They really, Harold and Kumar were incredible.
It's great. I want to write a movie about you, Darren Prince, the Prince of Cards, and we could talk about your story and stuff. And then I think that would be awesome. You know what I mean?
I don't know how much humor would be in it. That's the thing. Although a lot of people do find me funny. I don't know about my whole life, how many parts of it could be somewhat comical. But I've been in talks with some production companies about a documentary. I'm just trying to find the right one and decide if it's the right time, if and when.
Yeah, I think that would be great. And then the last question for the folks at home is, where can the folks at home follow and support you? Or if they just need help for whatever they're going through with their addiction, like how can they reach out to you to see if you could help them?
Instagram is @agent_DP. Facebook is Darren Prince, DARREN, Prince, PRINCE. I think it comes up under Los Angeles or Brentwood. And then I have my Aiming High Foundation.org website for people that might be in need of help and not have the funds and the resources to do it. That's my charity that we raise funding to scholarship people that need it.
All right, cool. Well, Darren, thank you so much for being my best friend for 45 minutes.
Of course, man.
It was
go back forever.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to have you again, and you know, I'm in LA all the time, and if you ever want to come to a show, let's go to a show, and I'll take you out to dinner. Let
Carla know the next time you're here, and cool. I'd love to meet you in person.
Definitely. All right, guys, subscribe, rate, review. We'll tell your friends. We'll see you guys next week on Reza Riffs.